Hi, folks. We are here with Charlie Fredrickson from EnTech Solutions today. Charlie and I go way back, maybe 8 or 9 years. Charlie, it is so good to see you today. It has been a really long time. And now you're the Vice President of Asset Management at EnTech Solutions, and you are going to talk with us today about the microgrid at Bubolz Nature Preserve. So let's introduce the microgrid. The Bubolz Microgrid is one of the first in Wisconsin, and it's only a few years old. As I understand, it's a four-way partnership between Bubolz Nature Preserve, Faith Technologies, EnTech Solutions, and Schneider Electric. Did I get that right?
You did, and again, I thank you for inviting me to have a conversation with you today, Heather. And you're right, it's been a long time, and this is really a great project that we are very proud of at Faith. And you're correct with the partnership, the groups involved. EnTech is really carrying the torch, kind of moving forward with a lot of what we learned in the work that we've done out at the preserve.
So Charlie, could you put all the pieces together for us and really start at the very beginning on how this idea was formed, where it started, and how it all took place?
Sure. Great question. And it really kind of all goes back to the original formation of Bubolz Nature Preserve back in the 1970s, which was founded by Gordon Bubolz and a group of very innovative and forward-thinking individuals, leaders within the Appleton community that saw a need to start to preserve some of the natural landscape around and outside of Appleton. Appleton was starting to grow, and they saw a need to preserve this great piece of property. So that team came together. They bought the land and they formed Bubolz Nature Preserve. And for the time, they built an extremely innovative nature center. It was actually an earthen structure. So those of you that are familiar with kind of some architecture from the 1970s, an earthen structure concept was something that was very innovative at the time, which is basically building a building, covering it with dirt, and utilizing nature's dirt to help keep heat in and to help keep cool in and things like that. And then on top of it, they utilized heat pumps, which is also very innovative for the time for heating and cooling the facility. So that went on for many years and was a very popular place. But as time went on and entered the 2000s, the building really started to see its age and started to really wear down. As you can imagine.
And Charlie, trust me, I was there then. It was in terrible condition. You're being kind.
Yeah, it really was. It was really in rough shape. And that was a challenge for them because their mission is education, and specifically with young kids, elementary age kids. And quite honestly, there were just some schools that were reluctant to bring kids there anymore because of some of the health concerns with this earthen structure. So
it was very damp, damp in there.
It was damp, and if you can imagine, with an earthen structure, there's mildew and things like that. So some changes really needed to be made. So it was probably the late 2000s, 2010, somewhere in there. The board at the time had the vision of, we need to take down the lot, we need to take down this building and build a new building. And they reached out to many of their partners in the community and really kind of struggled to raise the money to build a new building. Not many people could get excited about, unfortunately, conservation and nature, and a lot of other things were happening at that time, coming out of the Great Recession, and I think there were a lot of focuses on funds going to other places. Well, just by chance, so they kind of struggled with raising the money. Our founder of Faith Technologies and past CEO, now retired, Rolly Stevenson, was then on the board of Bubolz Nature Preserve. He grew up out there as a Boy Scout and was very familiar with the area, so he was passionate about it. And so Rowley had suggested that that the preserve approach Faith and see if we'd be interested in making a donation to the preserve, which is I think what any of us would do. And so they did reach out to Faith and specifically our current CEO, Mike Jansen, and asked if we would make a donation to the building fund. And Mike really listened. He really listened to what they wanted to do, what they wanted to achieve from an education standpoint, teaching about conservation, bringing kids into the preserve. And Mike really had this visionary idea of, okay, we could probably donate $50,000 or $100,000 to a building fund, but is that really going to make the impact that needs to be made at the preserve to really create a sustainable business model at the preserve that is going to take them into the future? So playing off of the innovation that happened in the 70s with the founders and this earthen structure and heat pumps, Mike had the idea of we'll make a commitment. We'll make a commitment to build, which was very innovative and new at the time, and it's still now getting traction, a microgrid that will provide all the power, all the electricity for the facility, and with the ability to have the lodge off grid and utilizing only clean energy. And we would make the commitment to build that asset, the microgrid. And in addition, we would also help build the lodge as well, that has educational spaces, it has spaces to expand programs, to invite in members of the more members of the community, educators such as yourself at higher education, within colleges and universities and so on. So that was the vision of how could we create a more sustainable business model that is even more innovative than what anybody is doing today. And then the end result was ultimately the microgrid.
And then how did Schneider and EnTech become partners?
Yeah, so Schneider Electric is a very strong partner of Faith Technologies in the work we do across the nation. We have many Fortune 100 companies that Faith works for. Schneider is a provider of electrical products, so that is who Schneider is. They make gear, they make stuff, they make electrical products. And Faith is we do engineering, we design solutions, and we put their products in the facilities that we build. So it was a natural fit with their really worldwide presence and the work that they've been doing, innovating with microgrids, and pairing that with our engineering horsepower and the vision that Mike had created for a microgrid. So it's a combination of the products and platform with the ideas, the innovation, and the execution engineering strength of Faith. Now, at the time, and at the time, EnTech wasn't. EnTech is new, so EnTech is a new business unit of Faith Technologies as of January 2020. But
brand new,
but a number of us, myself included, I was part of Faith Technologies when I led the effort to build the microgrid. And as this market has grown, we made the decision that we needed to have a branded part of the company that focuses only on energy, clean energy solutions for our customers. So
This
that's
is
kind
great. Yeah.
of, so that's
So, yeah, so the story is that the microgrid was born from all these various partners and entities, but then now a new company has been born from the microgrid.
You're spot on. You nailed it. Exactly right. What we have found, we've gotten a lot of attention and a lot of interest in the microgrid and in clean energy for many different reasons. And so it was important to us to brand and to show our customers that we are committed to this. We are committed to clean energy markets in microgrids, and that commitment goes into the EnTech entity that we created.
Before I share the screen and we look at the dashboard, because by now everybody wants to see what this is all about, so let's do a little show and tell. But before I do that, I just want to say, I mean, Lawrence University, where I work, we are installing a microgrid up at our Door County campus. Y'all are doing it for us. We're working with Faith Technologies, and so just the number of clients probably that you've been able to generate with this. So Charlie, this looks probably pretty familiar to you.
Absolutely. That's great. Yes. That is the dashboard for the microgrid at Bubolz Nature Preserve, and it's great to see on a December 2nd, 2020 that we have
Right.
we have the sun's out and we're producing a nice amount of solar here today. So the 123 kilowatts. So that's pretty cool.
So Charlie, is this really real time?
It is. That's live data. That's correct. So what you're seeing is, and maybe I'll just kind of step through. Could I step through that different assets?
Please.
So what we have out here, and it's a pretty sophisticated, it is a very sophisticated microgrid. We have 5 distributed energy assets out in the field that are on display. The first one is a solar field, and that is 200 kilowatts of solar total capacity. So as you can see right now, live data, we are producing 122 kilowatts of power, and it's in the kind of the early afternoon here in December. We will see in the summertime, we've seen that output as high as 250. And again, I know I told you it was 200 kilowatts, but that's what it was designed to. But we've been optimizing it, and we're actually getting we could peak out at about 250 kilowatts of power with that solar field.
Wow.
We have a battery, which is kind of is this middle. In the middle here, it looks like the battery logo on your phone, and it says -1 kilowatt, and that is because
What does that mean?
Well, that means the battery is fully charged. So it's a 100 kilowatt battery, which means it has 100 kilowatts of output, and it can store 420 kilowatt hours of power. And right now it is fully charged. So it's showing a negative due to that, which is good, because as soon as the sun goes down at about 4:30, what's going to happen is the solar is going to go to 0, and then that battery, the battery will start to run. The building will start to run off of that battery. The next asset that we have is a 65 kilowatt microturbine, and that is located almost in the middle of the screen there with the yellow circle around it. So the microturbine is basically, think of it like a jet engine, and that uses natural gas, and that will make electricity and it will make heat. So this is the asset we use for when January comes around and we have a week's worth of lots of gray weather and it's been cold. We can run that. It's highly efficient, and we'll make electricity and heat with it. Now, part of what we wanted to teach with this facility and what we wanted to teach to our customers is that this microturbine could actually burn biogas. So think of a Oshkosh has a
Mm-hmm.
is making biogas via
Mm-hmm.
from waste product
Mm-hmm.
cafeteria. There is
Mm-hmm.
a landfill nearby, so the landfill you can pull gas off of, or a digester from a manure pit. So you could use that gas, which is if not treated properly, is actually
Mm-hmm.
carbon to our environment. So that's helps with that aspect. Then we have an electrolyzer, which is right in the middle. It's underneath the sun logo here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The electrolyzer is very innovative. Can be a complete net zero effect with our microgrid. The electrolyzer will take tap water and utilizing solar energy, mostly in the summertime, will make hydrogen. So we convert the tap water to hydrogen. That hydrogen is stored in a tank, and you can see right next to there's a little logo there with some blue lines, light blue lines.
Mm-hmm.
That's our
Mm-hmm.
tank, which is full of hydrogen. And then when we want to use the hydrogen, we can run it through a fuel cell, and the fuel cell is about 25 kW, and that whole process creates zero carbon emission, and it is actually the only thing it produces is basically water vapor. It's a really amazing system. Um, and then the last piece that we have is a natural gas generator, which in the event everything else fails, we have a generator that can kick on and that basically doesn't run. And maybe just one other, couple other notes on this graphic. The lodge usage, that again is
Mm-hmm.
data. So the lodge is using 23 kilowatts of power as we speak. And
Mm-hmm.
we are actually putting 95 kilowatts of power back onto the utility grid. That's the far left-hand side.
Right. So you are making considerably more energy than you're using. Are you selling that back to the grid?
Great question. So we are making a lot more energy than we're using. And in fact, we'll in this year in 2020, we're projecting we're going to make about 200 kilowatt hours of electricity, and we're going to consume about 110 kilowatt hours of electricity. So we're we're making almost 45% more power than what we need. And we are putting it back on the grid. In the state of Wisconsin, unfortunately, we do not get compensated for that power. We put it back on the grid due to net metering. So every state, every utility, so each state down to the utility, even sometimes down to the municipality, will have net metering laws or net metering regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we exceed the size of customer generation, and
Mm-hmm.
we not get compensated for our power that we put back on the grid.
Wow. That there's so much that needs to be changed on the supply side, and I'm sure you are in the middle of that every day. But a couple years ago on a tour, I heard that your next door neighbor, the Girl Scouts, you couldn't even give this extra supply to them, and they're a stone's throw away from you. How is that? How did that work out?
Yes, that's correct. For starters, we have a very good relationship with We Energies. They were a good partner with us when we had the concept and the idea of building the microgrid, because we did need their involvement. There is some interconnection that has to happen between our immersion center, as we call it, and in the grid, the power grid. There's some safety features that need to be put in place to keep the line people safe in the event of an outage and backfeeds and things like that. So we have a good relationship with them. And in the planning conversations, we did ask just that. We said, we're projecting to produce probably twice as much power as what we really need to use for the buildings at this point in time. We would love to run a line over to the Girl Scouts and power that building. Well, the location where the Girl Scouts is placed is actually on a different, even though it looks like it's the same campus, it's on a separate tax parcel, or it's on a separate piece of land, not part of Bubolz. So to power that building, we would actually have to run a power line across the property line to connect into the building. Well, the state of Wisconsin and the just our regulatory codes around utilities, that's not allowed. It's considered energy wheeling. So on-site generation you're able to do, but as soon as you cross a property line, it's energy wheeling. And
Energy wheeling, okay.
correct. So even though we wanted to give the Girl Scouts the power, because that's what we were going to do, is we were going to give them the electricity. Unfortunately, it still triggered the energy wheeling issue, and we felt that at this time it wasn't worth spending a tremendous amount of time on. Maybe it was something we could make more progress on later, but we chose not to pursue that any further.
Sure, understandable. So Charlie, a couple of years ago, there was a video that I saw on YouTube of, I think it was a ribbon cutting ceremony for the microgrid. VP at Schneider Electric, Amir Paul, was talking really excitedly about future plans for the microgrid, which brings us to now, because now is the future he would have been talking about. And he was talking about the idea of shipping these microgrids out to energy disaster areas, places that need energy. Is that happening?
That's great question. So the interview that you saw was the ribbon cutting ceremony for Bubolz when we completed the project, and again, Schneider being a partner with us and providing what's called the ECC, or Energy Control Center. It's kind of the brains of where all those DERs, they all kind of plug into one box, which is the brains, and control all of those. So that was provided by Schneider. And so this vision of how do we take what was done at Bubolz, which is a larger installation and a larger demonstration of what a microgrid is, and shrink that down into an asset that can be deployed not only for disaster relief, but then also can be used for many other applications as well, maybe powering cell towers in remote locations, especially for emergency communications, powering electric vehicles, which is a whole nother exciting piece that's on the horizon here. Mm-hmm. So we actually took that as a challenge, and thought to ourselves, well, how can we be that innovator and partner to help them to get to that point. So the last couple of years, we've actually developed such a product. We call it the Escape unit, which is a packaged microgrid system. So it's a smaller box, if you will, and mm-hmm. has the ability to have a solar plugged into it, have a batteries plugged into it, or it includes batteries, or have a generator plugged into it, and then it could also be connected to the grid if need be. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. And so we actually did develop that product, and we unveiled it at AirVenture 2019. So the past year's was canceled. So we failed it
Oh.
in 2019. And we've had it out operating in a number of different applications. We had about a year ago, we had a pretty cool application where the Festival of Lights in Appleton wanted to power for the holidays for Christmas. They wanted to power all their Christmas lights off of a microgrid, and we shipped it out there and they powered all their lights. So we're currently using it for powering job trailers at job sites. And then, like I mentioned, cell towers. And then a recent application is actually the Ford dealer in Neenah, Wisconsin. Is we installed that system to charge the new electric Mach-E that will be coming to market here pretty soon. So it's been a pretty cool endeavor to see how that grows.
That is really exciting. And I just saw that video very recently, a few weeks ago. So I was hoping that answer would be yes. That's awesome. So Charlie, last question here. And this is very close to my heart. I think about it a lot, and I complain internally about this a lot. So I get excited when I get to ask the experts here. So it seems like we have all the technology and the answers right now to go 100% renewable energy, and on-site renewable energy for residential and businesses. So why can't I have a microgrid in my backyard right now? Why can't I buy an Escape and run my house off of it? Can I?
You could, yeah. Today you could, and we will. That is absolutely the goal. That we know the direction. That's where the industry is going. It's choice and power. Went from years ago, if you wanted cable, you only had one cable company you could choose from. Today you can choose cable, you can choose Netflix, you can choose YouTube TV, you can choose all these different applications to get your viewing. The time is going to come where you're going to have options of power and where you get your power from, and its scale as this becomes adopted more and more. Solar panels are a great example. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, they were expensive. Today, solar panels are much more efficient. You get much more power out of them, and the price is much lower than it used to be. We're going to start to see the same thing with batteries, battery technology, especially with all the automakers coming out with electric vehicles. It's going to start to drive down the price of batteries. We're going to get to the point where batteries are going to be under $100 a kilowatt hour, which is kind of the benchmark of once industry gets to that point, it's going to be adopted very quickly, where the regular homeowner can afford to put in an Escape type system in their home. It's coming. We've actually been working on a couple of one product specifically that would be just perfect for the homeowner to operate off the grid. So it's coming.
That is so exciting. But just out of curiosity, what is an Escape going to cost me right now for my house?
An Escape right now for a home application, they're expensive. They're in the $80 to $90 or $100,000, depending on what features and functions you're looking for. But again, as time goes on, it's going to start to that price is going to continue to come down. And at the end of the day, and it's what we find a lot with our customers is what are they looking to achieve? I think quite often we have the question of, well, what's the ROI? Which is a very valid and a very important question. What's the return on the investment when we go to a microgrid? And the way that we look at it, it's kind of a three-legged stool, or there's always three different things that drive an individual, a business, a company to wanting a microgrid, and it's going to be economics. So they may be in an area where the cost of electricity is very high, such as California or some of the other states where the cost of electricity is high. So they want a product like this to help pull down that cost of electricity. Additionally, there's markets that the more clean energy you use to make your product, the more valuable your product will be. Fuel is a specific ethanol and things like that. The more renewable energy they use, the lower carbon intensity score they have, which means the value of that fuel is higher. So there's the economics. Then there's resiliency. There may be whether it's like I mentioned before, a cell tower that can never go offline, especially in an emergency situation. Areas that are in end of the line communities that have power line issues that lose power quite often, clinics and things like that. So resiliency may drive the decision of why they would want a microgrid or this type of a system. And then the last one is sustainability. We work with a number of different companies that have very high sustainability goals. They want to reduce their carbon footprint. They want to use more clean energy, and they want to look 7 generations out, and that begins now. And what are they going to do to make an impact on the environment and help make it cleaner and help with the adoption of all these things, electric cars and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different factors that will drive, why somebody would buy.
Well, you sold me, Charlie. I'm 100% your next customer. Thank you so much. This has been really fun. This has been really exciting. The news you are telling and sharing with all of us is awesome.